So you have an ROI file for a stationary area, and now we're getting to the important stuff. So this is asking for the alignment. When we do the FFT, it actually takes a region, if you say yes to this question, and aligns that region rather than the whole image. And the reason this is important is because if you look at the whole image, there's so many things that are moving beyond just the image, like all my cells are moving. So if we try to align these without using that region of interest, it doesn't work very well. So instead, we just take one region of interest. And how we do that is using ImageJ, which is very important. ImageJ is also how we do all the classification because it has the very useful Weka segmentation tool. But for now, we're just going to be using selection and measure. So you can go ahead and click and drag any file into Fiji to open it. Or you can go to File, Open, and select the file, which takes a little bit longer. And now we just want to select a region and measure it. Actually, what we really want to do is import the whole image sequence, which we should go to Downloads for. That way we can look at the same region throughout multiple images. And here I put file name contains p-p to prevent it from loading the fluorescence images. So now we can actually look at all the images subsequently, and you can sort of see that registration shift, especially if you look at this area right here. So what we want to do is select an area that doesn't have anything that's supposed to be moving. So an area without any cells, I like to select this bottom corner area here. You could probably just as easily select over there. I like over here, just because this seems like a nice feature to be aligning to. And it has to be a rectangle. You must use a rectangular selection tool. It's going to be very important. This is the rectangular selection tool. There's other selection tools that I'll talk about in a couple minutes. And here you want to make sure you set the scale to remove the scale because it needs to be in pixels. This is very important. So again, that's going to analyze, set scale, click to remove scale. Hit OK, and now we're going to set the measurements to only have a bounding rectangle. If you just have never hit set measurements before, area and some other stuff is going to be clicked. Unclick all of those and make sure this is the only checkbox. And also make sure decimal places is set to 0. The default is 3. You need to change it to 0. So once you've done that and set measurements, you can go ahead and hit measure. And you'll pop up this results window here that will have bx, by, width, and height. This is what the Python script is going to need to read to know what area it's looking at. And you can just go ahead and save this as a CSV file. I like to call it align ROI. You can call it whatever you like. And you need to save it in your working directory. So once you've done that, you can actually close out of this. And we have an ROI file for our stationary area. Again, this is not required, but I recommend it. So we're going to go ahead and say yes. And now it's going to ask us where the file is, and I'm going to type out line roi.csv. And now it's just asking for a name to output the images into. The directory doesn't have to exist. It's just going to make one for you. So I'm going to call it align. And it's going to go ahead and do stuff. And you'll see here, it's going to go ahead and pop up aligned right there. It's a pretty quick process. I mean, that was only 20 images. It aligns the fluorescence images based on the phase images, so it'll shift the phase and fluorescence image of the same frame the same amount, which is necessary when analyzing fluorescence. And it'll output all your aligned files. Very important, if you end up running this script as piecemeal, say something happens, your computer crashes in the middle, you hit Control-C because you were trying to copy something, whatever happens. If you already have this alignment, you can go ahead and answer no to this first question, but remember then that the directory of the images you're analyzing needs to be the aligned directory. If you go ahead and align it, it automatically corrects for that, but if you don't, you need to be sure that you're putting in your aligned directory if you did not align the files in that one particular run of the script.